Hello everyone, my name is Moji. You're watching a Bitcoin Bubble News channel. Because that's how networks naturally grow. That's why I'm pouting the table people are getting into that. Well, I'm paying too much. I mean, one of my friends is really rich. He also knows that my average price is pretty low. You can't stand to pay $60 or $70,000. I told them, look, it doesn't matter. I don't remember how much I paid. As a rough estimate, in the thousands. Max Kaiser paid $2 though. And I don't feel bad about Max. Really, I just know that my average cost will seem very low one day. What people did to share information changed when the printing press came along. Bitcoin has changed money in the same way that money always did. There's a way to store value that isn't run by a small group of people for the first time in history. It will change how we think about money and spending, just like the internet did when it first came out. With this tool, it will be simple for anyone to make smart decisions and stay away from bad ideas that waste money. The way money is spread now is controlled by a small group of people. With Bitcoin, we can take back control of our money and build a better future. Our ancestors thought it was smart to bleed patient. In the same way, we'll look back on our old money habits and wonder how we ever thought they made sense. He was ahead of his time when he put money into the internet for the famous financial manager and Bitcoin fan Lawrence Lepard in 1993 and 1994. He was ahead of his time. After that, he put his money into gold and silver investments and soon found what he calls a once-in-a-lifetime chance. Bitcoin Bill, as he is called, bought Bitcoin when each coin was worth only $300. He talks about what he thinks about Bitcoin now, how it's like the early internet, and why he thinks it could hit $1 million a coin in this interview. We show parts of his most recent interview in this film. Like the movie, follow the channel and turn on post notifications if you want to see more videos like this. Thanks and have fun with the movie. But I also want to talk about why I'm so sure about Bitcoin and how I missed the mark. Let me tell you some simple things that I know about the venture capital business. What I learned is probably what I tell new people who are going into the venture capital business. Look, the most important thing you should look for in the venture capital business is you. Interestingly, Gene Kleiner was the one who told me this, or rather, he told it to people who read about it in his writings. He called it dogs eating the food. You should look for something that people are already using and that more and more people are using every day. Okay, you should search for clear growth patterns. If you find one, you can extrapolate and say that if something is growing, it will continue to grow, all other factors being equal. A company called Netcom was one of my big wins in the internet space. We put about $5 million into it, and now it's worth $15 million. I was sold to AOL for about $280 million. We were like $100 million. I was crazy. And by the way, when we were into Netcom, it was a dial-up service in Silicon Valley. The founder started it in his garage and people would just dial into his computer, which was then linked to a larger server that talked to the internet. And every month he charged him $20. By the way, when I filed the guy, I don't remember the exact number of members he had, but he was getting 150 more every month and that number kept going up. So it was like, holy crap. Before we knew it, he had 200,000 members by the time he was done. It's clear that something is working when there is that much growth. Also, you see the same thing in Bitcoin, right? To be more specific, I mean that ETFs are bringing about a lot of adoption, growth, and new people. Okay, let me tell you about a couple I missed. Then Amazon and Google show up. So the first thing I did when I started my own fund was say, okay, I'm going to look for growth at a smart price. Indian was where I found it. We worked with cell phone companies that were growing by 40% a year and selling at 3 times their earnings. That worked. Okay, I did look in the US too though. I also saw that Amazon was getting bigger. I also saw that Google was getting bigger. They weren't making any money in any other case, but especially in the Amazon case. So I looked at it through the lens of my old finance degree and said, yeah, it's growing, but they're making up for it by losing money and making it up in volume. They were able to do it because of ZERP. Okay, to put it another way, their cost of cash was really low. Jeff Bezos pretty much destroyed middle class and popular American stores because he didn't have to pay for their capital. So he could, Amy went around getting things. He paid a lot of money for warehouses, picking things up from warehouses, and all that. He saw where we were going ahead of time and didn't have to pay for cash. It was beautiful. He wasn't making any money though. He was playing the old monopolist game, which is to lose all the money until you have a monopoly. This is what I didn't know. Following that, you can raise your prices and get rich very quickly. That's why I didn't know that was the game he was playing. I thought it was a bad plan because of this. That's why I didn't put money into it. I'm very sorry about that. It was kind of like the one with Google, but they weren't offering free money as much. I didn't get why I used Google but never clicked on the ads. I thought, this doesn't make sense. These ad people are being ripped off. It doesn't work, even though they pay a lot of money to Google to get ads. I was wrong about that. But that's why I couldn't see it. But they were both the same type of network businesses. They made more money as more people joined, okay? I'm not going to make the same mistake again. When I saw Bitcoin, I realized it was a network of money that was growing slowly and quickly. I also realized that everyone needs money and that Bitcoin is the best way to get it. As Saylor and Preston said not long ago, there's no denial in it. There are only 21 million of them. Just for me, it seems like such a clear bet. And you said, look at the prices. In other words, I have no idea where it's going tomorrow. I'm not sure where it will be at the end of the year, but I think it might be around 100,000. But I know for sure that this will go from 200,000 to 1 million, 2 million, and finally 8 million per coin. That's what I'm saying, because that's how networks naturally grow. That's why I'm pouting the table. People who are interested think, wow, I'm paying too much. I mean, one of my friends is really, really rich. He also knows that my average price is pretty low. You can't stand to pay $60 or $70,000. I told them, look, it doesn't matter. I doubt I paid less than a few $1,000s. But that's about how much it was. Max Kaiser paid $2 though. And I don't feel bad about Max. Really, I just know that one day my average cost will seem really low to someone who is willing to pay $2 million for each coin. That's why it's called Saylor's Point. I mean, Laura, it keeps going up. So, I mean, you can either decide that you're going to buy it or not. That's not known by many. In the end, everyone will buy this. It wasn't clear to anyone or not many people. If you wait, you'll have to pay a lot more for it, so you might as well buy it now. When problems with traditional currencies get too big to ignore, a lot of people will rush to buy Bitcoin, which will raise its value to levels that have never been seen before. He tells new buyers that they still have time to buy Bitcoin. He says that Bitcoin is still young and will only get bigger from here on out, even though they think they have. He also talks about the money he put into Microsoft and how well it worked out. He also says he was wrong to sell some shares early and now feels bad about it. Larry says that wealth is built by putting things of value together over time. Bitcoin is one of a kind and will change the rules. Finally, he says Bitcoin is a step forward in technology that will last, not just a trend that will soon be forgotten. Because of this, he tells people to buy as much as they can afford and wait for their money to grow. They'll be glad they joined something new and exciting early on, and they can still do so as they watch more clips from Lawrence Lepard's talk. That is a great question. The answer isn't simple, okay? So, the internet really took off from a business point of view in 1995 when Netscape went public. Remember that Netscape was the first browser? Also, the rise from 95 to 98 was pretty big. Sun Microsystems, a company that makes microcomputers, and Cisco Systems, a company that makes routers, which are probably the most important part of the internet's infrastructure, are two examples of top companies from that time. From 1994 to 1998, their prices all went up by a lot, by multiples of their